upside down.
This episode, Scott and Alex talk to Sam Jacobs. He used to play footy at the highest level, and he's got 3 kids.
Here's Jacobs, the tall first-game ruckman. They call him Sauce because of the red hair. Big Jacobs, big semi. Slams it through. Jacobs, a big ruckman. That's how to do it. Gives it up to Jacobs. Long from outside 50. It's there.
Maybe one day I'll play footy too. My friend had a baby.
My friend had a baby. Now he don't sleep no more. Waves crash in his eyes. Tides on the nursery floor. Oh, my friend had a baby.
I actually did some research this time, Scott. You'll be pleased to know.
That is a lot better. So, Sam, last episode we had Dr. Erin Kelly comes on, right? And she's like a pretty much a world-renowned psychologist. And Alex is just like, what's a psychologist? He's just like, he really wasn't that bad. No, she was a good sport about it. And I've come in and I'm like, got all my crib notes. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's talk about this. And Alex is just trying to absolutely stooge her out of free psychological advice. she's like, this normally costs you like $250 an hour. I'm not fucking handing this over.
She shouted, I know.
Yeah.
Scott, you shared a story a little while ago about a journey to Macca's, and you felt deeply, deeply judged by the amount of food that you were ordering, despite it being for 2, but you were the one doing the very kind trip, which is a very good boy.
Well, technically it was for 3.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair, that's fair. I pulled up to Macca's last night because my wife had some cravings, and I started putting the order in and asked for all these things, and I got to the payment window, and the girl there was like looking at me, like a little bit strangely, just like more than I was normally expecting. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I've still got it. Things are, there's still a bit going on here. And got to the second window and they've delivered it through the window and they're trying to like look in the car to see if there's anyone else in the car. I'm like, no, it's just me, guys. And then I've driven off and realized like, they think that's for me. Oh no! What's like? Because the story that Scott shared was that you almost flew back from Hawaii to clarify with that person. You're like, no, it's more than me.
It ruined the whole baby mood. Like I thought about it every single day. That woman's look on her face. I do realize now in hindsight, I did have my shirt off and I was eating a Whopper at the time. So we're pretty lucky today. We've got Sam Jacobs, AFL superstar, current head coach of the Woodville West Torrens SANFL team, to come in and talk about all things not football, much to, I'm sure, plenty of people's disappointment. Sam, thanks for being here.
Thanks very much for having me. I look forward to seeing what you've got for me today.
We're curious about the life of a football player and the crossover with being a dad. Because am I right in saying that, during your AFL career, you had your first, did your second come along?
Yeah. Your second was probably part of the reason why I retired. So just because it was COVID and whatnot. But I'll let you finish the question. Yeah.
I thought you were about to tell me that your second sort of dropped you or something. You tripped over them in the bathroom and you're like, well, that's it. Career's done.
Yeah, not quite. So had my first one at 29. So I played until I was 32. So yeah, finished up when I was 32, retired, and had the second couple of months after I'd finished in the COVID year. So obviously had a bit of a period of time where I was a dad while I was still trying to play.
I'm just going to jump straight into what would probably be a pretty gnarly question to some people. What was it like being in the spotlight? Because obviously, I mean, everyone knows who Big Sauce is. Like,
yeah, it's my ultimate name. Yeah, I know.
You're in the spotlight, and you got this like little moldable piece of DNA in front of you. You're sort of pulled into the spotlight, and you're giving interviews. You're out on the field. How was it shifting gears between being a public figure? I know you're still a public figure now, but at that point in time, to suddenly, all right, I've got to change your snappy. Was that a bit of a whiplash experience?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was all that sort of stuff was fine. Like it obviously felt really natural to me being a dad, and I guess I was at a stage of life where I was really comfortable transitioning into dad life, and I'm a bit of a hermit out in my social life. So being a dad it's not like I had to give up my social life or whatever. I was quite happy doing my footy thing and being a dad. But I think the biggest challenge I found was like in my preparation, playing and all that, I was so, fastidious about how I prepared, how I ate, things had to be on time in routine and all that sort of stuff. So it got really challenging, I guess, managing that sort of side of it. And it's only something simple like you might go, with kids and, you're having tea, sometimes it's 5 o'clock and it's just like, we just got to find something because they just need to eat. And then off the back of that, you just need to eat. So, you find something that's probably not as nutritional, something that's not as healthy and all that sort of stuff. So then I guess for me, that probably just chipped away a little bit at my preparation and my confidence of going, right, have I done everything I can to prepare? So that was probably the hardest adjustment for me, was just going, my sleep, you don't sleep on time like you always do. You don't nail your recovery like you always do. So that was probably a little bit of a transitional period for me, sort of that side of it, more so than actually being a dad, which I was, more than comfortable with and more than ready at that time.
I suppose as a professional athlete, what we've been very excited about, well, what I'm excited about with my first kid on the way is an excuse to just eat chicken nuggets all the time. As a professional athlete, it's probably frowned upon by the coaching team.
Oh, yeah. And if get used to chicken nuggets and chips. You'll eat a lot of that wherever you go. So.
Yeah, get used to them. I get it.
That was our experience last night. It was like, oh, what do we got? Chicken shop. Nah, just go to the chicken shop. That's all we're doing.
And that's where, like, Taylor Walker, for example, who I played a lot of footy with, still playing now. He's got 3 kids. They're a bit older, and he's almost got better while he's had kids. And I guess Tex's personality is, he's able to sort of manage, everything and still perform. And not that I didn't, but, for me, that was just a challenge where I had to put more time into it, making sure I got my preparation right and all that as best I could. So, yeah, there was certainly some adjustments that you had to make that goes along with that.
That's just on a whole different level to what, your run-of-the-mill upcoming dad has to be used to. I mean, we got a dog and my life fell apart. Like I just like everything just went to shit. And then I hear you talk about it like, oh yeah, I've got to get out there, I've got to get on the field. Yeah, like it's just so natural and smooth. And I'm like, man, I couldn't find like a coffee mug this morning. And I was like, well, that's it. I'm going back to bed.
Well, it's even more heightened now. Like I'm obviously a senior coach. I've got 65 players in my squad that, want time with me. I've got 2 dogs. I've got 3 kids. I've got a wife working night shift as a nurse. Oh, not night shift work as a nurse. So she was on night shift last night actually. But, it's heightened even more. My players, when you're a senior coach, you've got partners, you've got sponsors, you've got, staff, you got all these people that need your time. So for me, I guess, like I said, I'm not a massive social person. It's probably, I'm even more removed from that these days, just because when I give so much of myself to my players and my staff and all that sort of stuff, there's not much time left. As one of my kids now as they come in.
Perfect.
So yeah, there's not as much, me time or time. So sometimes it's like, oh man, all I want to do is just sit on the couch and do nothing.
Yeah, I feel you. I know exactly how you feel. And I'm just in an office all day.
Yeah, exactly.
What was with kid number 1, and you obviously would have been trying up to that point. I imagine the journey, like my journey was that ours were all natural. I don't know if even that's the right term these days, that doesn't offend anyone. Scott, we know, had the turkey-based method. But for you guys in your journey, what was it like making the decision to have kids, knowing both your and your wife's journey at that point? Was it because you felt comfortable that it was something that you wanted to do as a family, and then trading that off with your responsibilities as an AFL person as well? What was that journey like?
Yeah, so I guess you spoke about it before as well, Scott. It's just the first port of call is a dog, isn't it? You bring the dog into the family and see how you go managing that as a bit of a trial and error. So yeah, how have you gone there, Scotty?
Oh, it's alive somewhere in the house. Like I can hear it from time to time, and the food keeps going missing in the morning. So. I assume it's still here somewhere. I'd probably same thing with a kid, right? You just sort of release it into the wall space, and it'll come out and eat when it's hungry. No. The dog went well. The dog was actually it's funny you mentioned that. It's such a great way to get that structure. It's all right. Well, we've got to move the clock back. We're getting up at 5:30 to walk the dog now instead of get up at 6:30. Like all those little things, right? We've got to be home. The dog's as anxious as a dog can possibly come. So all right, well, can't be out of the house for longer than an hour and a half at a time, or else it's got to be destroyed. So I definitely agree with that sentiment that a dog's a good jumping off point.
Yeah. So for us, I think, we'd been together for maybe 4 or 5 years, gone through the dogs. We got 2 dogs. So gone through that phase. And I guess, where we're at, we got married. My wife, Izzy, was relatively young. I think she was 20, maybe 23 when we got married, something like that. So I was 28, something like that. So I guess for us, it was probably just the next stage of our life. And I guess we were both on the same page. And I think that was it. That was probably the biggest thing, is it's something we'd always openly discuss. So we're both aware that that's where, we wanted to go. We're on the same path. So for I guess for us, when we've come into that decision to go for it, we just felt like we're in a really good space, just in terms of what we've been through and a stage of life and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, I think the communication, just knowing what both want in the relationship's super important with that.
What was the conversation like with the club the first time you told them, I've got a baby on the way?
Yeah, well, footy's really unique. So if you can imagine, you're in a locker room with, I think we had a squad of 40 blokes. A lot of my teammates, we had played footy together. I came back to Adelaide in 2011, so we had Imi in 2018. So a lot of them, we'd played together since I was 22 sort of thing, so 21, 22. So by the time we started having kids, all of our friendship group with the Crows, we were all having kids. We were all getting married at the same time. We all found girlfriends at the same time. We all had dogs. So as weird as it sounds, all of us were going through the same stuff. So we virtually went from no kids in the playing list to, near on 20 kids, in the space of a couple of years, because we're all at the same stage of life. So that's where footy's really unique in that sense, is you don't probably have that in everyday life. So in terms of the kids stuff, was more, the biggest one was just around trying to manage to find wedding dates, because, we play and train for 9 months of the year. There's literally 8 free weekends a year that there's not a wedding. And then when everyone starts booking them up, the weekends get chewed up pretty quickly. So it's probably similar to kids. It's just, everyone's doing the same stuff at the same time. And you want to make sure you're there for it. So, it's planning that comes along with that. You don't want to miss games. If some people do you miss games, don't you miss games, all that sort of stuff. So much goes into it at a club that it is a really big thing. And I guess it's extension of a family, really, being at a footy club. So like I said, it's a really unique position to be in.
That's a really interesting point that I've never really thought about before, with the idea that, the club is essentially, it's like a workplace,
yeah.
Right? But all your colleagues are within more or less the same age demographic. And I think about when I told all the people I work with that, we're having a kid, and the oldest person I work with is 72. And they were just like, who cares? Yeah, I've got 3 grandchildren, and one of them's 19 years old. Do you think I want to hear about your kid?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I was just trying to bring you in the fold, and they're like, stop inviting me to these meetings. I'm not interested. Whereas I suppose when you're playing footy, like you said, everyone's having kids more or less around the same time. Yeah. Everyone's kind of, in a way, growing up together, which is a whole different perspective.
Yeah. Sort of like your dog, right? No one loves your dog as much as you do. So, the kids aren't too dissimilar. While it's the biggest thing in your world and you're locked in, and, if you having your first, it's the greatest, best thing ever. But it very much happens like that in a workplace, doesn't it? It's just well, cool, mate. We've had kids. I don't care. Just be at this meeting at this time, sort of thing, or whatnot. So it's really unique. But yeah, at a footy club, when performance is, needs to be at a premium, and you need your teammates to have success, and you need everything going right and all that sort of stuff, it actually becomes really important, because like you said, in a workplace, it's just do your job, mate, and get on with it. Whereas in a footy place, it's fire out. We need player XXX to be performing at their best so we can have success.
Is there things the club does to better prepare you for that? So are you you come in, you tell everyone, everyone's pumped and yeah, cool, we're going through it together. Does the coach then sort of step in and say, all right, now you're on the family journey, we've got to have the chat, or we've got to, set you up with this person to help.
Yeah. So we've got a player welfare manager who virtually anything you need, from education to training to family life to all that sort of stuff. They're there to provide that support with you. So we're really fortunate. So say game day, for example, so we've got a game day crash. We go to the game, say we're playing Adelaide Oval, rock up to the game, you bring your kids along, your wife along. They got the creche set up for the kids, so you can drop the kids off in the creche, so then your wife can go and enjoy the game or sort the kids out. So they've actually got a base there. So little things like that, they do that to make it easy for you. If you've got something on during the week that you need to be at, obviously there's adjustments made for you to be able to attend that. You can bring your kids to training, all that sort of stuff. So it's a really, once again, it's a unique environment in that space that they need you performing at your best. So they put all this support around you to make sure they're maximising that.
Did you ever have a moment where my kids might be sick on a day and I'm like, nah, I'm staying home, guys. Sorry, that's it. I'm not in today. Did you ever have those moments where you're like, guys, I can't be there? Or you did have the support? It sounds like you had the support around you to make sure that you could still perform for your team and your club.
Yeah.
And while still managing those potential problems at home.
I think for the early part, because once again, I remember Tom Lynch, my teammate, he had a kid when he was maybe 21, 22. So by the time I've had my kid, his eldest is probably 7. So whereas a majority, so that was a pretty, unique situation. But a lot of our kids were young. So I guess wives are still on maternity leave. So it's probably not too much in that space because, the wife's generally still at home, I guess, still having her 12 months or recovering. So because the kids were pretty young, you probably don't run into that sort of stuff too much, whereas footy's still the priority. So, and the footy club's pretty much we'll do everything we can to make sure you get to training and are performing. There's plenty of ways around that to help give us support.
That's really, really cool. It's really great to hear because you watch players, they run out and they're in your life for a few hours a week, right? And then they stop existing afterwards. But everyone knows there's a huge amount of pressure that goes on you guys. So it's really, really good to know that we're looking after our players or the club's looking after the players.
Yeah, I guess I'm a bit more old school, whereas sometimes I think it's probably too much. You know what I mean? I think times it's a whole nother conversation probably for another time, but it's just I think sometimes it's laid out too much, whereas guys still need to actually be able to make life decisions. So when they come out of the game at 25, 26, and all they know is footy, sometimes they're just not well prepared for life after footy in the real world and what it's actually like. So, and don't get me wrong, as players, through the AFL Players Association, we get plenty of support post-playing. But you still, at the end of the day, you're still on your own devices and you still have to make your own decisions.
Did you ever find during the early stages when you're running out on the field, do you ever find yourself thinking about, and I know this is probably a weird way to frame this, but you run out there, are you just full game mode and everything else stops existing? Or do you run out there and you go, fuck, kids got runny poos at the moment. I just hope this game never ends. I'll just stay out here and play forever until that resolves. Did you ever, in that early stage, did you ever find your head was in two places when you're on the field?
No, not really in terms of when you're actually playing or training. Footy's great because you're locked in the moment. You're worrying about the next play, the next possession, all that sort of stuff. But like I said, for me, it was probably just more around the preparation stuff and just making sure you're well prepared going into training. They always do wellness pre-training. It's just that's around your sleep, your mood, your stress, all that sort of stuff heading into training. So you have a pretty good idea around just where you're at. And making sure you can, I guess, put your energies into the right space so you're ready to perform. But so game day is it's all the stuff you've done Monday to Friday. Game day is just the show, effectively, if you know what I mean. For me, game day was always a reflection of how you prepared. So it just once you're in the flow of a game, you're just locked in and you're just playing. So, but it's all about the lead up and, like I said, how you prepared coming into the game.
I suppose there's probably that added reassurance where you go, look, I'm here to work, I'm here to play.
Yeah.
The wife's in the stands, the kid's in the creche, it's all okay. Although I think if I'm in a work meeting and I'd bring my wife and my screaming kid along, and I'm like, don't worry about it. It's fine. Just look at my spreadsheets. We'll get through this. Probably a little bit different in this line of work.
And now I'm coaching. Like, I think there's certainly parts of that is like we may have, like, last year we went through a really tough stretch just with injuries and results and all that sort of stuff. It's like I'll get home at, say, 6 o'clock on a Saturday night, 7 o'clock, and we might have had a bad result. But you come home and it's like, you're not coming home putting the feet up. It's like, you come home, I've got 3 kids to get fed and put to bed. So really you're not switching off until everyone's, but by then you've had 3 hours and you've actually been able to take a relax and you realise that there is still life outside of footy. You know what I mean? So kids, I feel now coaching is amazing and it's great sharing the experience with them and all that sort of stuff. Whereas, like I said, playing is probably a little bit different because you got to make sure, when I finish coaching, I'm not coming home making sure I'm recovered. I'm thinking about the game and reviewing and all that sort of stuff. Whereas a player, you're straight into recovery mode, recovering for the next week, game review, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's different. But kids are so amazing for that in footy as well, is to just get your mind off of footy for a little bit, because I guess we're all a bit weird in footy that, footy's our life and literally it's on my mind 24/7. So that's a unique part of it again.
I remember talking to you a few years back, Sam, when you were still playing, and when you were coming off the field, one of your favourite things to do to switch off, you just watch your tropical fish. Yeah. You're just like, oh, cool, I don't have to think about anything else. I'm in fish.
Good memory from you.
Yeah. So it sounds like that's been transitioned. Probably something a little bit more hands-on than.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you say that. Actually, where you went to, where were we the other day? At Anaconda or somewhere like that. They had a fish tank there. I said to my wife, I was like, hey, I'd love to have one again. She just rolled her eyes and been like, we're not getting another one. You've been through that phase. That's that.
I was going to ask, you come home after, or you've flown in home from a weekend away or a game at Adelaide Oval, and say you've been beaten around that week. The media is like going to be putting an article out tomorrow or something like that. You've got all this pressure on you, and you get home and you sort of had to just switch into that dad mode where you had to go, I need to leave that beef on the field. I've got to try and not bring that home, because I know that I'll come home sometimes after work and just be like, the fuck was that? We vent in our safe spaces. What was it like for you getting home and just trying to, could you switch off, or it was something that you had to learn?
Well, I think the beauty of kids are you don't really have a choice, do you? It's just like they need to be fed, they need to be bathed, they need to, all that sort of stuff. So it's like it's not like a dog where we're joking before. It's about where they go outside and they can look after themselves. It's like especially in the infancy age of kids, it's like you need to be there to help out. So no, I think the other part of it is and the best thing I love about kids, it honestly, sometimes you have those moments where it's like, it's just. There's so much going on, but you don't need long away from them to get that real excitement back to see again. Like, and I think me and my wife are really good at that, of going like, I've had a massive day. I've had the kids all day, just keen for you to get home just to have them. But when you've been at work all day, all you want to do is get home and see the kids. So it sort of has a bit of effect. So footy, especially when you're traveling and all that, like, you're probably, if it's a night game, you're away for 2 nights or whatever. All you want to do is get home and see the kids and unwind. So, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing for me is you can do that, absolutely. You can have a bit of both. You can certainly be with the kids, but you can also be thinking about footy at the same time.
You finished up with the Crows, just over 180 games, and then you moved to GWS.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. And at the time, you had 2 kids at the time. Is that right, when you moved?
I had 1, and I had another one while I was in Sydney.
Okay. And what was that like, moving cities with kids and family?
For 6 months, it was the greatest life experience we'd had, sort of thing. So Imogen, my eldest, was 2. I was finished up at the Crows. I didn't finish up. I had a contract offer at the Crows, but they were going to go through a rebuilding phase. They were looking to play younger players and all that sort of stuff, whereas the Giants had just come off a grand final. I guess they were looking for a ruckman and all that sort of stuff. So I got a multi-year deal to go up there, and we only had a 2-year. Yeah, like I said, Imi was only 2 at that stage. So, our sort of thing was like, let's go up there for 2 years. What an experience. You very rarely get to move to Sydney. So to go up there, footy takes you up there. What a time to go up there. So we went up there and summer was amazing. 6 months up there, 2-year-old loved it. She wasn't in school. She was just, starting to settle in up there and all that sort of stuff. And then Izzy got pregnant early in the year. So that was going to be exciting. We were sort of going to have a Sydney baby as well out of our 3 kids, which is good. But unfortunately, COVID hit and it just unfortunately just took the shine off everything. Like there was periods where I was in Perth for 2 or 3 weeks playing. My wife was in Adelaide, or I was in Queensland and she was in Queensland with me. And then it just became really challenging. And it just got to the point where it's like, I need to put my family first. And, we're going to have a baby. COVID's happening. Let's get back to some, consistency in our life. And back in that period, like Sydney was really unknown. So we actually spent a long time on the road flying around Australia, playing and moving to different hotels and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, unfortunately, I decided to put my family first and I retired after 1 year, but the plan was to be up there for 2 years and it's going to be one of the greatest experiences we had. And for 6 months it was. And then unfortunately it turned to no good.
Big decisions that you have to make sometimes that you don't realize that you have to do. And you're like, oh shit, I'm the adult in the room here. We've got to do these things. This kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather not have to do this, but I guess I have to because no one else is going to do it for me.
Yeah, and just little things. I think that's the thing people forget with athletes. Like you see them on the TV playing for different teams, but when you have to relocate all the time, like, so I had 2 dogs. I hadn't seen them for 3 or 4 months, and I sort of had once again just a thought going like, what am I doing? Like, they're my dogs, my responsibility, and I palmed them off to mum and dad back in Ardrossan. It's just like, well, I'm not fulfilling my job there. I'm not fulfilling my job as a dad because my wife's living here, there, and everywhere. She's pregnant, all that sort of stuff. So I was like, what am I actually doing? So, yeah, I decided to make the decision to put my family first and retired.
What an insanely intense sort of collection of decisions that need to be made in such a condensed period of time. I know you talk about it in 6 months, but like it almost sounds like that was such a huge internal conflict. I love the game. I want to keep playing, but I've got these responsibilities, and some of my responsibilities are here and some of them are over there and some are in Ardrossan. And it sounds like you're super at peace with that decision. Like it's almost like that dad mode really kicked in and you were like, no, look, footy's been being an AFL player has been a great part of my life, but this part's more important. And that's massive. Like we've spoken to a lot of people who have, highlighted at times in their life where they've sort of sacrificed parts of their career or parts of their social group, and some are big and some are small, but that sounds like it's just your entire life.
Yeah.
Where you just went, yeah, this is more important.
I admit though, like it still doesn't sit well with me the way it finished though. You know what I mean? Like I think, retiring through COVID just sort of left a lot of loose ends, if you know what I mean. Like I didn't get the chance to really, I played for 14, 15 years and all it was really, hey guys, I'm retiring, I'm moving back to Adelaide. And it's just like, thanks. That's the end of it. Like, because people are like, well, I just want to get out of here because it's COVID, we've missed finals and this year's been a shit show. So let's just go our separate ways. So I must admit that, yeah, while I'm very, very comfortable I made the right decision, it still doesn't sit real well with me the way it ended because it just it leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth.
Do you think that there was, if you were given the opportunity, you would have kept playing if there was an opportunity back home? But I also understand that COVID times, like I'd forgotten about that and just how much of a shit show that was. I remember working in the news at the time and all they were talking about, how do we get the AFL on? How do we get games going? How do we get people on seats? Oh, let's just play crowd noise through the speakers so people feel like there's a game going on. I'd forgotten the madness of that. And to be in the middle of that, I guess you kind of forget that perspective sometimes. But do you think you would have played if there was an offer on the table? I don't know if there was either.
So I retired with a year left still on my contract. I had a year at Sydney still there, but I think had I stayed in Adelaide, then yeah, no doubt I would have played through it because we would have been at home, we would have been, in our house, we would have been family around, all that sort of stuff. So it just got too hard being interstate. That was a challenge, just flying here, there, and everywhere. And like I said, I didn't feel like I was fulfilling all my duties as a dog owner, as a dad, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, if I was here in Adelaide, it would have been a lot easier, and no doubt I would have kept playing through it. Like that's all right. I look at the positives, and I had 15 years playing the AFL, so I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, which is a lot more than a lot of people have to can say that they've done as well, I would say.
Yeah.
Because you
exactly.
think about those poor kids who they get to that point, you're just an injury away from it being like, that's it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, like I said, I'm at peace and comfortable with the time I had. So I was very lucky.
I was going to say, as a notoriously anxious individual, I'm wondering if it's too late for me to sign up and try and get access to all that support that's there. So,
yeah, I think it might have
start
passed
training.
me by.
Come on, I'll get it together. That's right.
Sam, I'm moving from 2 to 3 kids. So two, my oldest is 5. She's doing great. My son, he's 3. They now know that there's another kid on the way. That's the whole purpose of this podcast, is that I've got number 3 coming. Scott's got his first coming.
Yeah.
What was the transition like from 2 to 3?
The best way I could explain it is 1 is 1, 2 is 2, 3 is 30.
Oh, fuck.
No.
Good.
It is a challenge because now it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. It's someone's outnumbered or whatever. So
Right.
you'll find you spend a lot more time with kid 1 and 2, as obviously your wife or partner will spend a lot more time with the third one. But now that's sort of starting to flip the other way. Now my third is 3 now, so I actually spend quite a lot of time with her. So as the older 2 are getting a lot more self-serviceable. So, but no, it's great. If it was easy and school fees were cheaper, I'd probably have 4 or 5. So I love it, and while it's challenging and all that sort of stuff, they're the best thing that I've ever done. So more kids, the merrier for me, for sure.
It's a trend that's coming out. A lot of people are like, oh, that's so lovely, and a lot of other people are like, that's really messed up.
Yeah.
But it's good to. I think that's sort of the balance that I'm seeing is that it's shit, but you'll love it. So that's I'm holding on to that. I'm holding on to that little bit there.
Yeah, and it's just like, because we're getting to the point, like I said, my 3-year-old now, my third one's 3, she's starting to be pretty easy. So it's like you start to go to the stage where it's like, far out, like that's the last we're going to do that. It's the last we're going to do that. It's the last time we do that. So it's like, which brings us a sadness as well, is you don't want your little kids growing up.
Well, let's take it back to the beginning, though. I've got a wicked word of the week. Sam, just so you know, we've got a couple of segments here. This one is it's so original, this segment. Like, people fall all over themselves and they go, how'd you boys come up with this? Like, it is so good. It's called Word of the Week. It's got a wicked theme song that I'll get Alex to cue up right now.
It's time for Word of the Week. It's time for Word of the Week. It's time, oh yeah, for Word of the Week.
This week's Word of the Week is Vernix Cassiosa.
Oh, that sounds.
You heard of that
complicated.
before, Sammy?
I was going to say, am I meant to know what that is?
Well,
I don't
look,
either, so it's fine. This is how it works.
That's all right. So I'll give you the Latin translation.
Yeah.
Right, and you see if we get any closer. So, Vernix Cassiosa translates to cheesy varnish.
Oh,
Okay, so right, so
I played footy for 15 years now. I coach footy. It's not exactly real worldly.
so Vernix Cassiosa is the cheesy wax that a baby is coated with when it first is born.
There you go.
Yeah, and it's technically sort of like it's like a built-in skincare product for the baby. So
Correct.
it's a barrier cream when it comes out into the world. Yeah. So a lot of doctors call it the all-in-one baby lotion.
Yep.
And that's this week's word of the week is Vernix Cassiosa.
Scott, would you recommend that I rub my newborn on my heels when it comes out? Like, is that what
I
you
recommend you rub your newborn on a piece of toast when it comes out. On that note, let's go to a break and we'll be back with Alex's segment. Finally, his turn after I've absolutely pilfered it the last 5 episodes of his segment of How to Dad.
We'll be back after the break.
Oh, my friend had a baby. Life flipped like a coin. Oh, my friend had a baby. Chaos joined the joy.
My maybe one day I will play footy. I'm too young. My team is a quad. My team is God. But for now, please subscribe or tell your friends or family about this podcast. It's the best. It's the best. It's the best. Bye.
Parenthood's a dubstep drop, not some easy dream. Oh, my friend had a baby. Life lived like a
Welcome back after the break. It's time for How to Dad.
How to dad, how to do, fix a boo-boo or a shoe, got a tantrum, got no clue. How to dad, it's in your hand, step by step you'll understand. How to dad, you're the man.
Sam, my question for you this week is you've got kids who are getting into sport now. I imagine they're getting to that age where they can do that sort of stuff. I'm getting emails daily from my school about sign up for this program, sign up for this program. How do you, and I don't know how involved your kids are with sport, but how are you getting them into sport?
Well, I guess, Scotty, like you know me, I'm sure you could imagine how much my kids are into sport. So sport is our life. So having 3 girls, it's dance and netball. So no, we're very, very encouraging to, I guess, number one, find what they enjoy doing. I guess we don't put a limit on that, but you also can't do everything. So no, we're very supportive of that. I guess when you get all these other offers to do everything, I think it just falls in the category of you just can't do it all. So find what your daughters or your kids like, and obviously just do everything you can to give them the best opportunity with that. That's what we do. And scheduling is quite, it's a full-time job managing where everyone's meant to be at what times, but it's also the fun of it as well.
Your kids aren't sort of actively rebelling against like sort of the bloodline, are they? Where they go, no, you played sports, so I played. We had Peter Coombe on a little ways back, and his kids grew up to be lawyers. You know, well, one of them did at least, and then he very violently sort of corrected me and said, no, he still plays guitar. Yeah. Do they ever look at you and go, well, you just expect me to play sports because you're an athlete? You ever get any of that?
They probably feel that a little bit because, like I said, my wife is as much into sport as I am. So, like, we're a very sport-obsessed house. So they sort of grow up in that environment. But I think the funny thing with kids is, like, Imi's just starting to work out now that I played footy. And I guess in Adelaide, being 6'7", redhead who played footy for the Crows for 10 years, I'm a pretty recognisable figure in around Adelaide. Obviously, being so she starts to pick up now, like when people like look at me or they want to take a photo or that sort of stuff. She's sort of like, now she's starting to understand what dad did and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, they're not really into footy though. They love dance and netball, but in time they try to like footy because I like footy, but I know it's not their passion. So I do admire that they try their best to sort of enjoy it with me. But yeah, it's quite funny.
I saw in the paper the other day that Tex Walker's son, one of his sons, is just a massive Collingwood fan. Is he coping okay with that? Have you heard? Can you report?
No, I think it's quite a funny one. It's got a lot of airtime, that. So it's it's quite humorous seeing Texas kids get around with a Collingwood Guernsey on for sure.
And now that you're looking after a bunch of young lads as a head coach of a Sandful side, have you got kids that are coming through that are now, have a mirror journey to you with becoming parents as well? And you've sort of got that insight now on how to support them? Yeah,
it's quite funny because I'm actually really pretty young coach. So when I first started doing it, I was only 34, 35. So some of my players I was coaching, I actually played with. So that was pretty unique at the time as well. So right now we've got 2 or 3 players that have kids, and I think we've got another 2 with a kid on the way. So soon we'll have 5 players that have kids, and I'd like to think that's one of my strengths is my ability to, I guess, understand what they're going through and helping them in that sort of journey. And like I said, because I, had to adapt with having a newborn and not making everything about my preparation, all that sort of stuff. I'm sort of trying to give them as much leeway. So I feel I'm a better coach by doing that. But yeah, I think certainly being a young coach, I feel very connected to my players because I've lived and I've walked in their shoes. And so, yeah, it certainly makes it a lot easier.
I've got to go back to an earlier comment you made. Well, right back in the beginning of the episode, you said you want to have kids, get a dog and sort of practice on the dog. Do you think that having your own little tribe there, the 3 kids, has that prepared you to be a coach in some ways?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is, because sometimes, especially my younger lads, they probably act like my kids at times as well. So I try and use the same, I try and use the same sort of techniques that I try and educate my kids. I use on my 18-year-old lads that have a bit of maturing to do as well. So it's certainly like that. Sometimes I think I've got 65 extra kids that I've got to manage. So it's all scalable. So I just got to make sure I if I can educate my 3, I can educate the other 65 as well.
Perfect.
Sam, I saw when I was looking online today and noticed that you represent the Sammy D Foundation. How does that fit into your life at the moment?
Yeah, it's a great foundation that I got involved with. So I guess the main reason why I got involved, obviously, there used to be a fair bit of violence on footy field, and a real passion of mine is that footy is there for fun. It's an escape from your weekly job, and whether you're some bloke playing Div 6 reserves or you're a person playing AFL, footy should be a safe environment, and there was probably too much violence in that space when I first became an ambassador, and something I was really passionate around is trying to change that. Now, I know I'm not going to change the world, but I think using the platform I had to highlight it was something that was really important to me. So I think, especially with footy, there's always areas that I feel I need to give back. I chair the Adelaide Crows past players as well. I sit on some history and tradition committees there, ambassador for the Sammy D, like you mentioned. So there's some of these things which, I don't get any remuneration for, but there's stuff that's important and passionate to me. And I think part of my job now as a 37-year-old is to give back to the game. And so I like to find different avenues that, footy, yep, it's not everything, but there's certainly some great vehicles to be able to educate and help others in that space as well.
Yeah, what a great way to use that platform you built through all those years of playing to just put that out in the community and send the message, promote wellness, safety, fun. Yeah, you've done a hell of a job, mate.
As we wrap up, any final advice for Scott with his first on the way?
What advice would I give Scott? I reckon the biggest thing is just being open-minded. Like, I just think you just don't know anything about, well, I shouldn't say anything about life. That's a bit dramatic, but you'll get a massive learning curve when you have your firstborn, because you go through, whether it's natural, whether it's cesarean, whatever it is, you just be like mind blown, because you sort of think but you don't really know until you go through it. And I think the other part of that is you just have so much more admiration for your partner. Like, that's probably the biggest thing, is you just go like, they are literally the most amazing person, you've seen, because what they go through to give birth is quite an incredible thing. So for me, it's just keep being open-minded, as little things will blow your mind that you thought you had an idea about that you don't really. So yeah, it's one of the great experiences. And I got a bit of advice as well, like in terms of you and your partner's journey is in your relationship. Like the pinnacle of your relationship is your first child that you have. Like getting married's great, having second, third kids, whatever it may be, you sort of lived it. So the point of the mountain is having your firstborn kid with your partner. So yeah, it's very, very special.
You're about to peak then, is what you're saying.
You're about to peak. You're about to peak. Yeah.
Awesome. No, that's amazing advice. And yeah, really looking, look, I'm already watching my partner go through what she's going through. And I'm like, I don't even know how you're existing right now.
Yep.
Like how is your body doing what it's doing? That's just so unbelievably above anything else I've accomplished in my life. Yeah, we've been when we had Dr. Erin Kelly on last episode, listening to her talk about the birthing process and what happens to the body, and all those
incredible
transition happens. It's unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
You just look at them and go, "You are absolutely amazing." That is phenomenal.
The biggest point in parenting where I don't really understand / get is where it goes from being in the placenta to then breathing.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
That's the part I just don't understand. Like, Like, how does it just happen? Anyway.
I've got no idea. Look, honestly, I don't know how it goes from being like a bundle of cells to being like a human being. Like the first scan, I'm like, all right, so that's what is that? What am I looking at here? And they're like, oh, it's just a heartbeat and a bunch of cells around it. It's like, what do you mean? Where'd the heart come from?
Yeah.
Like, oh, the heart grew and then everything grew. And I'm like, fuck, what?
I know.
What are you doing? This is this fucking absolute horror show inside of you. But then as the baby grows, you go, oh, wow, it's actually beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like you're sitting in the scan and you're flexing. You're like, yeah, I played a pretty good part 8 weeks ago. And then she's like, well, I've got another 9 months of this. So, yeah. Scott, it seems like we've got some homework to do. Sam set us on a journey to find out how all that works. So we'll have to get someone on to help us explain that.
Well, I in positive news, my OBGYN has agreed to swing by, but post-birth. So we'll dog ear that conversation for when he's on board.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. We learned a lot about your journey and where you're at now and how family life is going. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
No, I appreciate it. It's great to reminisce and chat about these things. As like I said, I'm handing the baton over to you, Scott, now to go through it. So very exciting,
Thanks,
but great pod. Appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Nah, great to have you, mate. And look, listen out to anyone who's looking forward to a career in the AFL or wants to understand a whole different side of the AFL. I feel like I've just walked away with this whole new appreciation for players that are out there and some of the trials and tribulations they go through. So absolutely appreciative for all the insights there, mate.
No worries, all good.
As a final thought for all you tired parents out there, footy on the boot, baby in the creche.
Oh, my friend had a baby. Chaos join the join.
Podcast.